Not only was he really not getting any time, he wasn't even coming off the bench, but eventually he couldn't even make the bench. Like, he wasn't even making the squad, which is strange when you consider how badly Klopp wanted him in the first place. What is up, guys? It's James from Cop Logic, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the news that has broken about Fabio Carvalho last night. So Fabrizio Romano did confirm last night that Fabio Carvalho will be joining RB Leipzig on loan. He has also confirmed that it will be a loan with no loan to buy option. So it feels like the immediate plan is to definitely bring Fabio Carvalho back to Liverpool. I'm going to talk a little bit about what this means for our midfield and ultimately what it means for Fabio Carvalho going forwards, especially at Liverpool. We've obviously lost James Milner and we've lost Naby Keita. Jordan Henderson, you would assume, is going to be taking more of a backseat role, playing that James Milner role. Now we're losing Fabio Carvalho on loan. Obviously he's not going to be with Liverpool for the season. So what that means for our midfield is, we were already struggling prior to these players going in terms of midfield depth. Now we are definitely going to be in need of some signings. We know we've got Alexis McAllister through the door already, but we're definitely going to need, in my opinion, 2 more. Now, David Lynch spoke yesterday about the fact that Liverpool will 100% bring in defensive reinforcements this window. So if that's to be believed, they bring in a centre-back, Mickey van der Ven being the most linked at the moment. Then that's 2 down already this summer transfer window. You're talking McAllister and a centre-back. Do we believe that FSG are going to go out and bring in 4 players in this window? I find it hard to believe, personally, as a Liverpool fan. Knowing FSG and how they work, I find it hard to believe 4 players are going to come in, but I think that's what we need. Obviously, Kefren Thuram is the most linked midfielder at the moment, and he's probably the most likely player to join Liverpool next in this transfer window. In my opinion, we will need 1 more, especially if we're letting Fabio Carvalho go out on loan. Stefan Bajcetic, he has to be a rotation option, you would assume. I think he played probably too much last season, and ultimately that probably didn't help him. In some ways, probably led to the injury. And in terms of Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, though Curtis Jones had a great spell towards the end of the season, I would also assume that they would be more rotation options. So we actually do need at least 2 starting midfielders, in my opinion. I would like that to be Kefren Thuram and also Manu Kone. It depends how you want to look at it, but sending Fabio Carvalho out on loan, to me, that's promising for midfielders coming in this summer, because I don't think they'd send him out on loan if they didn't think they were going to have options. But let's talk about Fabio Carvalho for now and what this is going to mean for his future. So the first thing, obviously, that's worth noting is there's no option to buy on this. So he's going to be going out to RB Leipzig. Is that a good move, first of all? Personally, I would have preferred to see him go to a Premier League club. I would have loved to see him go back to Fulham for a season. If he was playing at a Premier League club, he was playing against other Premier League clubs week in, week out. I think that experience is the most invaluable, especially if he's going to come back to Liverpool Football Club, because you're playing ultimately the same opponents that he would be playing with us. So he's getting used to that environment. He'll be Premier League proven. For me, first choice would have been a Premier League club, but obviously that's not happened. He's going to RB Leipzig. I believe there were a number of Premier League clubs interested, but they wanted to buy the player, or they at least wanted a loan with option to buy, which Klopp wasn't happy with. Klopp was pretty adamant that the player could not leave the club this window. Bundesliga experience, it could certainly be worse, and RB Leipzig are a good team. I think the biggest pull for Leipzig is the fact that they've got Champions League football, so he's going to get some Champions League experience depending on how far Leipzig get. It's definitely not the worst choice. He will get some experience as long as he plays regularly. But as I said, the important thing is no option to buy, so ultimately that means Klopp wants him to come back. Now, what that doesn't mean is that RB Leipzig can't buy him. We've seen a similar thing happen to Takumi Minamino. He went to Southampton. There was no option to buy there, but they did try and put a bid in anyway. But in terms of Fabio Carvalho, it doesn't mean that Leipzig can't buy him at the end of the season. They absolutely could put in an offer, and then it would be Liverpool's discretion whether or not they wanted to go through that, and of course the player as well, whether or not he wanted to move. But I think the main thing to take away is that there is no option to buy, so Klopp's immediate plan is to bring him back to Liverpool. So you would assume that Klopp does have some plans for his future. For me, sending a player out on loan, it's never a good sign. I remember saying this when Takumi Minamino went out on loan. I really wanted Taki to do well at the club, but when he went out on loan, I was worried about him, in the sense that typically when Liverpool send a player out on loan, it kind of spells the end, and it ultimately did for Minamino. I know he came back to Liverpool after his loan spell, but as we all know, he was later moved on. Whether that happens with Carvalho, I don't know, because the other thing about Carvalho is Klopp really fought to get him in. Obviously, if you remember, we missed out on getting him in the January transfer window, and Klopp went again in the summer and brought him in. So Klopp really fought to have this player at the club, and then it was even stranger once he arrived arrived, he got very limited game time despite good performances. You know, he actually got some pivotal goals, certainly against Newcastle United. I don't think he ever particularly played badly for me. I felt a few times like the game would sort of pass him by. He would play well for a little bit, but then he'd kind of get lost and go missing. It was that he couldn't ever impact the game, but he's a very young player and that's perfectly normal. What was odd was we reached a point where not only was he really not getting any time, he wasn't even coming off the bench, but eventually he couldn't even make the bench. Like, he wasn't even making the squad, which is strange when you consider how badly Klopp wanted him in the first place, how highly he spoke of him, to then basically give him no time. It was a very weird situation. So there was some rumours that there was a bit of an attitude problem there. I personally do feel like there's something we are not seeing with Fabio Carvalho, whether it was something happening in training that Klopp was unhappy with, or whether the attitude problem is reports were true and there was something going on there, miscommunication with Jurgen Klopp. I'm not sure. One thing I will say is, obviously when the season ended, he put out a few posts on Instagram that to me felt a little bit backhanded and were clearly in reference to his role at the club and stuff, and I don't like that. But it's also important to remember that he's a child. You know, maybe that's something he can learn from in the future. Maybe that does point towards the fact that perhaps there was a little bit of an attitude problem with Carvalho that ultimately led to him getting on lack of time. But I think what's promising for him is obviously Klopp doesn't want him to go, but it's also probably worth looking at what his role is at Liverpool. I personally believe that Fabio Carvalho is best played as a 10. Now, at the moment, a 10 isn't really what Liverpool need. If we're talking about a traditional 10, it really depends what system Jurgen Klopp wants to go with in the future, because if we look at how he's playing Cody Gakpo has basically become a Roberto Firmino. You know, he's been playing as a false 9, so he's in between that 10 role and 9 role. If you're playing a false 9, you really don't need a number 10, and I think that has only added to the struggle with Carvalho and getting him in the team in a role that he's comfortable with. But at the same hand, if he goes with a Darwin Núñez type system where we play with an out-and-out 9, then a 10, it does become more of a necessity in the team. So perhaps in the future there is a slot for Fabio Carvalho, but that really remains to be determined based on which system Klopp decides to go with in the future. It's worth remembering that Darwin is young. That system could come in the future alongside a Fabio Carvalho development. We're going to have to wait and see. I think it's going to be very important how well he does at Leipzig. Obviously, if he has a really good season with Leipzig and comes back and he's sort of proved himself, then yeah, we're certainly going to see him get more time, and maybe we can see him link up with the likes of a Darwin Núñez. So all of this is very much circumstantial. The problem I think Fabio Carvalho has is he's going to have a lot of competition by the time he comes back. If we already know Alexis Mac Allister is through the door and he's going to be a starting midfielder, we can assume that Liverpool are going to sign at least one more, probably Kefren Thuram, who's going to be a starting midfielder. If Liverpool sign 2, that's going to be even harder for him to get in. I think Liverpool need to sign 2 personally, because as I said before, we're going to need it. You know, if you look at our midfield as it is now, we've got Thiago, who's injury prone. We've got Fabinho, who hasn't really been up to scratch. Certainly last season, he didn't have the best season. Now, we're going to have Stefan Bajcetic, who can play in that role, but we're also going to have Kefren Thuram, who can play in that role, hopefully. Jordan Henderson will be a rotation option, so I'm not really going to class him as competition. You'd assume something like Mac Allister, Thuram, and potentially like a Manu Kone. That could be our starting 11 midfield. And Fabio Carvalho would then, if he came back to the club, would have to fight for a spot in there. The players he's really going to be fighting with are Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones, 2 players that will be at the club next season. So again, it'll be up to them to fight their way into that, but they're going to have a one-up on Fabio Carvalho in the sense that they're actually going to be here to improve, to learn the system, to learn the team, and ultimately try and find themselves a slot in there. Now, if you look at Curtis Jones towards the end of last season, he was like a whole different player. I think the system with Trent coming into midfield really helped him. It allowed him to get closer to goal, and we were actually seeing him score goals. It was very much effective. There could genuinely be a slot for Curtis Jones in this midfield next season. Do I want that to be a starting 11 slot? No. Curtis Jones now becomes a really, really great rotation option on the left side of an attacking midfield, because in that system where Trent comes forwards, it allows Curtis to get closer to goal, and it turns out he actually can score goals when he's getting in those positions and stuff, so he now becomes a really good option. Harvey Elliott, I think, is going to struggle to get into the team next season, especially if we get these new signings in and they perform like we're hoping that they're going to. And then ultimately that means Fabio Carvalho, when he comes back from loan, is also going to struggle in that system. It could be that we see the likes of Fabinho, Thiago, potentially even Jordan Henderson move on by the time we see Fabio Carvalho return to Liverpool, so that could help that situation. But again, it's all circumstantial, so it sort of remains to be seen. So I think ultimately what this is going to boil down to is if Fabio Carvalho has a good season, a good spell away at RB Leipzig, if he can come back and sort of say, well, look, I proved myself there, give me a chance in this team, and if he can come in and sort of prove himself at Liverpool, get himself back into Jurgen Klopp's plans, because it really does feel at the moment like he's not in them. You know, he barely played last season at all, and then he's now moving away on loan. The one benefit he does have is Jurgen Klopp clearly likes the player and wants him around the club, because he's dead set on bringing him back after this loan spell. So I think we'll wait and see on this one. It could spell the end for someone though, whether that's a Harvey Elliott or a Fabio Carvalho, I don't know. I would say the young midfielder in the best standing at the moment is Curtis Jones. Despite what you might think of him, he had a very, very good end to last season. He kind of proved to Klopp what he can do if he's played in the right system. The new signings coming in, if we get them, are obviously very young players in Kefren Turam and Manu Kone, or Gabri Veiga, whose situation has heated up quite a lot over the last few days. All of these players are very young. They're not the type of players that are going to be usurped easily for a place in the squad. So it's going to be very difficult for Fabio Carvalho when he comes back. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Fabio Carvalho, do you think it's a good move to RB Leipzig? Are you worried about his future? And what do you think his role is going to be in this club? You know, feel free to talk about Harvey Elliott as well and what this potentially means for him. It looks like Liverpool are planning on making some more moves in midfield, which is promising for us at least. But let me know what you guys think, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to stay up to date with all the news. And if you want those notifications on, make sure you hit the bell so you can get everything up to date as and when it happens. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.